wanted to make a video kind of about my process of moving out of my parents' house, what that was like, and apartment hunting in San Francisco and all that good stuff. So that's what this video is really gonna be about, are my biggest takeaways, all the things I wish someone had told me before I did the process. I started looking for apartments maybe a month before I was supposed to move. How this all came about, so I originally wanted to move to San Francisco when I was graduating from college. So that's kind of the big thing to do where I went to school. I'm from the Bay Area as well, so it was always my plan to move to San Francisco when I graduated from college. Where I ended up getting a job in the Bay Area was an hour from San Francisco, so it really didn't make sense to live in the city and to commute all the way to the office 5 days a week. That was just not gonna be realistic for me. Even though I wanted to live in the city with all of my friends, that's not what ended up working out for me. So I decided to move back in with my parents. It was a lot closer to where I was working, and it kind of just made sense, you know, financially and commute-wise, going into the office 5 days a week to have less of a commute. Over the past, 7 or 8 months, the rent prices in San Francisco have significantly dropped. Like, it still is really expensive to live in the city, but it is nowhere near the rental prices I was looking at after college. So taking that into account, and the fact that when I do go back into the office, it's not looking like it'll be 5 days a week ever again. So realistically, that gives me a lot of flexibility with my living situations. So both those things, the cheaper rent market and the working from home, kind of fueled my decision to move to San Francisco. So I actually ended up moving in with one of my really good friends from high school and one of my really good friends from college. So the three of us lived together, and we did that whole apartment hunt process together. Basically how we went about the apartment hunt process, so it's honestly stressful. Like, luckily we weren't on a super tight deadline. Me and one roommate lived with our parents still, and then my other roommate still had, a month left on her lease. So we weren't in like a huge rush to get things figured out, but it's definitely a draining process for sure. We all kind of sat down and discussed how much are we willing to pay, like what's reasonable for each of us. So we discussed that we don't want to be paying more than $1,500 each for our apartment. So that would be a $4,500 a month apartment. I know that seems like a lot for a lot of places, but to give context, like when I was originally looking for apartments, like when we were graduating from college, people were paying, $1,700, $1,800 for for a bedroom in a house. So $1,500 was like a really good range for each of us. And we thought that, we could find something within that range for the current market. Once we discussed our price range, we really wanted to figure out where we each wanted to live. So we really settled on the Marina or Russian Hill, or kind of those two locations within the city, just because those are younger locations, and they're pretty central to where we'd want to be hanging out on weekends and things like that. So that's kind of how we started our search, was our price and our location, and then obviously the 3 bedrooms. And to give context, in San Francisco, you typically pay for the location more than the amenities. So a lot of these places are, not newly remodeled or aren't the, fanciest buildings that you could live in, but you're paying mostly for the location over the amenities. And then so from there, I really want to give my top tips on how to go about this process. These are all things that I wish, people really told me before. And these are probably my biggest takeaways from this process. So this first one is to really explore underrated tools. So in my case, this would be Craigslist. I know that seems kind of funny, but when we were apartment hunting, we were using Zillow and apartments.com and Trulia and all these, tools that everyone uses. And even in this like slow rental market in San Francisco, it was really competitive because everyone wants the low prices and everyone wants the nice amenities, and everyone is looking at the same apartments in the same area. So all of those apartments were just super competitive, and I can't even imagine what it would be like, if this was actually a crazy busy time to move to the city, and like a thriving economy. So we actually ended up finding our place, which I will show during like a house tour video I will also do. But our place ended up being a steal. Like a steal price-wise, a steal location-wise, amenity-wise. Like our place ended up hitting all our boxes of what we wanted. And that's because we found it on Craigslist. It seems kind of sketchy on Craigslist because you don't always see pictures of the apartment on there, and it's not like the most glamorous ad. Sometimes it seems just like a little sketchy. So I think that's kind of why people shy away from Craigslist, but we ended up checking this place out anyways. And obviously bring a friend, like don't go by yourself if it seems sketchy or anything like that. But we were like, this deal is too good to be true. It ended up being $3,800 for a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom in the marina, which is absolutely unheard of. We have roof access, we have in-unit laundry, like they pay for like half of our utilities. Like it was a crazy steal. I've had a lot of friends who have had similar experiences of finding like crazy good apartments on Craigslist. I ended up also finding a garage, like a private garage 2 blocks down. I just didn't want to park on the street just because I have a newer car, and I found that using Craigslist as well. So definitely check out Craigslist. It's completely underrated and you can find some really hidden gems on there. So tip number 2 is be patient with the search. So if you're like me, I'm super impatient when it comes to that stuff. I kind of want to just get it done and get the process over with, but the fun is in the process. We ended up seeing like 8 to 10 apartments, and keep in mind we're in like a slow rental market. Like there's so much inventory right now in San Francisco. Like you're probably not going to love the first 5 or 6 that you see, and it is really frustrating. And I honestly was getting ready to settle on something and just get it over with. But our big thing was really, looking at the apartment and saying, can we see ourselves living here? And this, like there were some that were like, oh, maybe we can, I'm not sure. This one that we settled on, absolutely. Like we all loved it and we're like, this is it. This is what we've been waiting for. And also really just sit down and say, okay, what are my non-negotiables? I know I talked about price and location, but also we really wanted laundry, and it didn't necessarily have to be in unit like we ended up getting, but we didn't want to have to go to a laundromat. So we needed a place with laundry in building at least, and that was one of our big non-negotiables. Another non-negotiable for us was 3 solid sized bedrooms. It didn't need to be a massive bedroom by any means, but a lot of the places that we ended up finding that we actually liked had 2 decent sized bedrooms and then 1 like Harry Potter closet. None of us wanted that Harry Potter closet. So really going through the hunt if you have the time to do it, and being patient through it, because like you will find one that you like. And I know it's really frustrating that there's so many with like one small thing off, but especially these days, like spending so much time at home, like you want to like the place that you're staying, and like it doesn't need to be your dream house by any means, but you do want it to feel homey, and like you do want it to be somewhere you're comfortable living. So my last biggest takeaway from this process was to invest in nice furniture. When I was moving here, I was kind of just stressed out to order something. I didn't have my college furniture anymore, so I needed to buy new furniture for this move. And I kind of just freaked out and was overwhelmed and just ordered something. I was like, if I don't like it, that's fine. It's just gonna be temporary for me. If I don't like it, I could get rid of it and I won't feel bad because I didn't spend a lot of money on it. Whereas if I was gonna spend a lot of money on something, I would have to keep it forever and I'd have to love it, and it's such a big investment. It was scary, so I just kind of went the other route and went the cheap and like easy route. But don't do that. I spent a whole weekend building this furniture that I ended up returning, and I had already thrown out the box. So then I had to schedule like multiple UPS pickups for them to come pick it up, already built, and like repackage it for me. And it was honestly just a whole nightmare. So I would not recommend that. So after that experience, I ended up taking the time to actually research the kind of furniture I wanted, and found something I really, really loved from West Elm. So I got a really nice West Elm dresser and nightstand, and they're gonna be investment pieces for sure. So that's my biggest advice. I realized that this living situation like feels super temporary to me. It almost feels like I'm in college and this is just another 1-year lease. But when you think about it, like this is actually real life, and this is actually like, this is my life. Like I'm probably not gonna live at my parents' like I did before ever again. So it's really important to start, being an adult and getting nice furniture. And again, you don't need to spend, a ton of money on things. Like I know I bought a really nice set, but even finding something doable off Facebook Marketplace. Facebook Marketplace has a ton of really, really nice stuff. I would just recommend starting to find small pieces that you actually really love and putting those in your home, because you want to have quality pieces that are gonna last you a long time. So that's another thing, is Facebook Marketplace is an absolute gem. prior to this move, I had never shopped on there, and I've always heard of it, but I never really had a reason to get anything off there. A lot of the pieces we got off Facebook Marketplace are really quality pieces for super cheap. So that is a great way to furnish a house on a budget with quality furniture. Thanks for watching. I hope this was actually helpful. Again, these are all things that I wish someone had told me, and those are my biggest takeaways from moving out of my parents' house into the city.